So today we're going to take a look at a new one, QQQI, and this is with NEOS. We're going to take a look to see what the holdings they have within this one, what the stock chart looks like, and my overall thoughts on QQQI. Hello my friends, this is Legend. So today we're changing it up a little bit. We're going to take a look at one that seems to be a lot of people interested in, and that's QQQI. And this is with NEOS. As you can see, it does have a pretty low expense rate. It's got about a 0.68%, and a lot of the YMAX funds or a lot of the other ones can be around 1%, right? So at a 0.68%, this one's pretty low, and it's showing a distribution rate of about 14%. Now, at a 14%, that means that this one here is not as volatile as a lot of these that you see where it's at 50%, 60%, or even 100%, right? At a 14%, it's definitely not as volatile because QQQI uses the index QQQ, which is the NASDAQ 100. So before we dive in too deep on this, if you don't mind, hit that like button as it would be much appreciated. So with NEOS here, if we scroll down and we're looking at their website right now, you can see that they have a net assets of 7.5 billion. Goodness gracious. When I said there was a lot of people in it, wow, there is a lot of people in it. I imagine a lot of people from YMAX are probably sitting over here at the NEOS area, probably sitting right here in QQQI, because at a 7.5 billion, that's a lot of money. This one here is a very nice large size fund. And as you can see, the distribution frequency is monthly. Okay, now that's a little bit different than a lot of the YMAX ones, because the YMAX ones, most of them are weekly. This one is monthly with that distribution rate of around that 14%. One of the questions is, what are actually some of the stocks that are within the NASDAQ 100? And we can take a look at that right here on Yahoo Finance. And as you can see in QQQ, it has stocks like NVDY, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Tesla, Meta, Google, Broadcom, Palantir, and so forth. So as you can see, it is very tech heavy, okay? So that's one thing to keep in mind, that if tech does drop, QQQ will also drop, which of course will mean IQQQ will follow suit. It is a little diversified, but very heavy in tech. So with all that said, what does the chart look like? And we're looking at the chart on QQQI. And you can see we did have a little bit of an update today, right? It was up to $54.64 at close. I've currently got the moving averages on. So let's just take a look at that 1-year chart, and let's take a look at basically, does this one trend down, trend up, or is it just going sideways? So on the 1-year chart, you can see there it is. This red line, that's the MA200, and those candles are moving up and to the right. We did have that drop here, but of course that was during that event that happened around the first part of 2025. But outside of that, you can see this here has been moving up. But of course, so has tech, right? And let's take a look at the 5-year chart. And you can see on the 5-year chart, it is moving up. But keep in mind, this is not actually 5 years worth of data. This actually came out in 2024. So that's another thing you do have to keep in mind, that this has only been out 2 years. Looks like the inception date was around February 2nd of 2024. So we're about 1 month shy of 2 years of data that we're looking at right here. But as you can see, it is still moving up and to the right. Now, if we go back to that 1-year chart, and I can zoom back on this right here, this pretty much encompasses all of the data for QQQI. And the one thing that I want to look at is, yes, it is moving up, but what are the distributions for this one? Because we know it is monthly. And since it is off of an index of the NASDAQ 100, you're not going to get crazy dividends or distributions, right? We're not going to get those 50, 60%. We're getting closer to around that 14%, but that is still a pretty decent dividend. And on top of that, you're getting upward movement on that price. So you got to figure out, do you want risky to get high distributions and possibly just trade sideways or down? Or do you want to trade up and take a little bit of a lower distribution? But overall, I think QQQI might be something worth looking into because those distributions, and let's just hover over those and let's see what they're paying out. The last distribution was December 24th for 64 cents. And if I look at each one of these, you can see there's a 64, 62, 63, 62, and so forth. It is right around that 60 cents. So on average, it's pretty close to being a little over 60 cents. The very first one was 59, and then it went to 60, right? So there's a few in here that's a high 50s, and there's a few that are around the mid 60s. So a good 60, 61 cents average is not too bad, but keep in mind that is monthly. But with this kind of movement up on the chart, could be worth holding for a long time. Now, all that said, is it the right time for me to buy, or when am I looking to buy QQQI if I'm looking to buy it? And to do that, I want to turn on my Bollinger Band. So let's turn that on and let's turn that moving average off just to clean it up a little bit. And we're going to zoom right in to the current candle here. And we are looking at the day candle. Okay. So this is the day candle. We are on the upper portion of that Bollinger Band. And as you know, if you've seen my videos, I'm looking for that candle to be on that lower portion of that Bollinger Band. So currently we're a little high for a buy for me. And once it is on the bottom half of that Bollinger Band, then I'm looking for that RSI 2. I would like for it to drop below that 10. Now, because QQQI is trading up and to the right, I could buy now just because I can see this one to continue to move on up, but I would much rather it drop back and I can buy it around 53 something here, right? Get in the middle of that bottom of that Bollinger Band and that RSI 2 drop down below 10, then I can hopefully buy it around 53.50 or something like that. And each time that it would happen to drop back into this area and drop below that 10, I can look to buy more shares so that whenever it does pop back up into the upper portion of that Bollinger Band, my position should be positive because I bought it down here and then the price moves back up to the upper portion, which would be a higher price per share. And therefore I'm making price appreciation if I were to sell the shares. But then on top of that, I am still able to earn those distributions. Now, just like you, I do enjoy my weekly distributions. But if you've been with YMAX for a while, I'm sure you remember when our distributions were monthly there as well. Well, every 4 weeks, right? But if we just say that they were monthly, you could pick and choose between a few different ones and you could actually be paid out somewhat weekly, right? Depends on which ones you had. As you can get paid on the first week, the second week, and the third week, and the fourth week if you had ETFs that fell in those dates for the payoffs. So maybe that's something that we could look to do here and just use QQQI as the first one, right? That does pay out monthly. But I imagine a lot of these are going to probably pay out toward the end of the month each time. But I don't know that for sure. Write some suggestions down in the comments below if you know of any that do pay on different parts so that maybe I can use QQQI and maybe use another one that would pay me during the middle of the month and at least get paid twice a month. And that wouldn't be too bad if that second one also was paying out a nice distribution and that chart was moving up and to the right, just like QQQI. Now, it would be even better if it was in a different sector that wasn't so heavy in tech have this one heavy in tech and have a different one that's heavy in a different sector, right? So that way I can be a little bit more diversified. So what do you think about QQQI? My thoughts are that I am starting to like this one as well. I like the fact that it is moving up. Now it is running off the direct index of QQQ, and this is QQQ, right? And it looks very similar to QQQI. The only difference is QQQI is $54 and QQQ is $600. So a big difference there. And if it's going to move like it, it could be a very good alternative to investing into QQQ, and also earning those monthly distributions on QQQI could be a nice little bonus. Let me know down in the comments, do you have QQQI? Or what other ones do you have that you really have found to be and seems to be pretty strong and has a nice chart to it that is still paying out a pretty decent dividend? So for me, QQQI is on my list. And once it drops down to the bottom part of that Bollinger Band and that RSI2 drops below 10, you might see it one day showing up on my stock tracker sheet, as I do have an open position right here next to DIVO that could show QQQI. And wouldn't that be nice? And speaking of my stock tracker sheet here, as you can see, DIVO is now green again. And this one's going to flip-flop because I'm so close to that market price. I need some distributions paid to me so that I can get this on down. Or I need DIVO to take a dip so that I can purchase more shares and hopefully drop this price down so I can get a nice buffer between it and the market price. But as you can see, I am green on most of my high yield ETFs. The ones that I'm down on, I'm not down by much. WDTE, I'm only down 3% now. SMCY, I'm down 5. ULTY, I'm down 3. And CONY, I'm down 12. Now keep in mind, just like the last video, I have not entered in my distributions. So the amount that I'm down will be dropping this weekend when I enter in my distributions. And I enter those distributions in on the individual stock tracker sheet. And to get to those, it's simple, as you just hover over whichever ticker you want to go into, and you can just click that link. It takes you straight to that sheet where you enter in any purchases you made, and you can enter in your distributions here, which will then calculate your real price per share. And all of that information on this sheet will be populated onto the summary page. And of course, to get back to the summary page from each or any of these individual sheets, you can just simply hover over that back to summary, click the link, and you're right back to the summary page. And like I said, the summary page is just that. It is a summary of everything that you do own, and it gives you all of the information of your current position. And that's your position because you're entering in your information into these individual sheets, and then you know what your real price per share is, because in my opinion, that is the most important part of these high yield ETFs, not necessarily the average price that you bought them at. And this one is the average price that I bought it at, but this is my real price per share, or my adjusted price per share, because this factors in those distributions. And that is why this number is so important. I really don't care what the purchase price per share is. I want to know, when I factor in my distributions that I've been earning and collecting, what is that adjusted price per share? Because that tells me if I'm actually making money or not if I were to sell those shares. So if you'd like a copy of this spreadsheet, come on over, join the Discord. The link will be in the pinned comments in the description below, where you'll get the link to be able to get your copy of this spreadsheet, enter in your own distributions and your own ETFs so that you can track and pay attention and know when is the right time to make your purchases and purchase more shares or not. So I think QQQI is definitely on my watch list. So I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. If you don't mind, hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, as it would be much appreciated. And as always, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence before you get into any stock plays. And until next time, legend out.